Okay, let's talk about one of the most famous paintings in the entire world. I mean, the Starry Night. But the story behind it, it's filled with way more conflict and anguish and doubt than you might ever guess from just looking at its beautiful surface.
I mean, we've all seen this image, right? It feels like we've always known it. It's on coffee mugs, t-shirts, posters, you name it. It's just become this universal symbol for pure, unadulterated artistic genius.
But here's the kicker. What if I told you that Vincent van Gogh, the guy who poured every ounce of his soul onto this canvas, looked at the finished piece and basically thought, meh, this is a failure? That's the real mystery we're going to unravel today. So, to really get why he might have rejected his own masterpiece, we have to understand the man who made it. And let me tell you, Van Gogh's path to becoming an artist was anything but a straight line.
I mean, look at this. Van Gogh's journey was, well, it was all over the place. He was an art dealer, a teacher, he was even a missionary working with coal miners. It wasn't until he was 27 that he finally decided to dedicate himself to art. This intense, almost desperate search for his purpose is what eventually led him to the south of France, because he was hoping the brilliant sun in Arles would finally ignite his work.
And that search for a different light, it brought him right to Provence. And this is where his greatest artistic ambitions and his deepest personal struggles were about to have a head-on collision.
See, he didn't want to go it alone. Van Gogh had this grand vision, this dream of an artist community he called the Studio of the South. And he pinned all his hopes on one man joining him, the very formidable, very famous artist, Paul Gauguin.
But oh boy, you could not have picked two more different people. They were like oil and water. Van Gogh was all raw emotion, passionate, chaotic. He insisted on painting what he saw in nature. Gauguin, on the other hand, he was orderly, kind of dominant, and he argued that true art had to come from memory and imagination. Their whole philosophies on what art is were just bound to clash. And this collision of personalities, of artistic principles, it led to one of the absolute most infamous events in all of art history.
That whole dream of a studio brotherhood, it completely shattered. After just 2 months of non-stop, intense arguments in that little yellow house, their partnership didn't just end, it totally imploded.
And the fallout was, well, it was catastrophic. After one particularly nasty argument, Van Gogh had a severe psychological break. It all culminated in that notorious act of self-mutilation, where he took a razor and severed a part of his own ear.
And what's wild is that to this day, nobody really agrees on what was going on with him. Doctors and historians, they've suggested everything from epilepsy and bipolar disorder to schizophrenia. It just goes to show you how complex and how deep his suffering really was.
But here's the craziest part of the story. It was out of this absolute brutal crisis that, somehow, his most celebrated masterpiece was born.
So, to try and find some stability after what happened in Arles, Van Gogh actually checked himself into an asylum. And it was right here, confined, isolated, that he would end up painting the Starry Night. Now, he wasn't allowed to go outside at night, but from his barred window, he found his inspiration. He even wrote to his brother Theo about it, describing this exact view. The sky just before dawn with a single, massive, brilliant morning star.
And this right here, shows the incredible leap his mind took. On one side, you can see his pencil sketch of the actual view from his window, and then boom, the final painting. He somehow transformed this calm, real landscape into a swirling, cosmic, electric vision.
So this is the key. The Starry Night is what's called a paysage composé, a composite landscape. It wasn't painted from life. It was a work of memory and imagination and pure invention. And here's the incredible irony. After their disastrous falling out, he was now using the exact method that his rival Gauguin had always championed.
You know, he was really driven by two incredibly powerful needs at this point. First, he was searching for a unique style, something more expressive, more deliberate than just copying what he saw. And second, he was desperately looking for consolation, that healing power he believed could only come from creating a truly harmonious piece of art.
But after taking this huge artistic risk and pouring all his hopes for healing onto that canvas, the painting's reception, even from himself, was not what you'd think.
So what did he think of it in the end? In a letter to his brother, Van Gogh just dismisses a whole batch of paintings he did at the asylum, a batch that included the Starry Night.
He felt its swirling, exaggerated lines, the very things we find so incredibly powerful today, lacked real feeling. He thought it was a failure. And get this, even Theo, his brother, his biggest supporter, he kind of agreed. He gently criticized Vincent's new direction. He thought that this deliberate search for style was actually getting in the way of true emotion. The two people who mattered most in his world were unimpressed.
And yet, here we are. This painting, born from a mental health crisis, created in confinement and basically rejected by its own maker, has become one of the most beloved works of art in all of human history. The irony is just incredible.
Which, leaves us with one last fascinating question. Is the Starry Night a product of his madness, a chaotic vision that he couldn't control? Or is it the ultimate testament to his sanity, a deliberate, powerful act of will, where he took the chaos of the cosmos and his own mind and ordered it all into a single, breathtaking vision of pure awe? The truth is, maybe it's a little bit of both.